I'd like to welcome everybody from Tynong and surrounding towns and areas. It's good to see it's getting bigger and bigger every year in Tynong, which is really nice to see for Anzac Day, for all the community groups to come together and everybody involved in the town and the surroundings of Tynong. So thank you for coming and welcome. I'd like to introduce now Arthur Bartlett from Millbury Ranch to say the Lord's Prayer.
I'd like to invite you to say the prayer with me. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive those who are our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you, Arthur. I'd now like to call on Councillor Graham Moore, who would like a few words.
Thank you, David, and I'd like to welcome everybody here today to the service at Tynong. It's always a great day, and I look around and I can see it's growing and growing every time I come here, particularly the younger people who come here to celebrate Anzac Day here today. I'd like to make some special welcomes here today, particularly to our young council members we have here from council. Hajar Al-Hanawi and Jennifer James are here from our youth council, which is really fantastic to have you here. Thank you for coming to Tynong, and they're going to speak afterwards, so I get to share the stage with our youth councillors here today. And while I'm saying that, can I also welcome our my fellow councillors here today, Councillor Michael Schilling and Councillor Letitia Wilmot, for coming and supporting our youth councillors, because they are their mentors here today. So I'm sure they've helped and hopefully helped their speeches this morning. But and I really, it's really great to see my really good friend Arthur Bartlett here today, and I'm looking forward to your address this morning, Arthur. I went to Lang Lang this morning, and the dawn service at Lang Lang is just getting huge. I think the younger people there outnumber the more adult members of the public there today, so it's really great to see it's growing and growing, and they're also all over our shire. So could I really, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of our land with which we gather here today, the Bunurong and the Wurundjeri people, and pay respects to their elders, past, present and future. It's with great privilege that I join you this morning to honour the memories of those gallant men and women who sacrificed their lives in service to our country, and those who continue to serve in our defences today. Today we gather together, not to celebrate war, but to remember and give thanks. To remember those ordinary, decent Australians who did things so extraordinary and brave and test our powers to imagine. To those young people and women who fought and died to protect the way our lives that we enjoy today. And to acknowledge all current and former members of our Defence Forces and brave men and women who represent our country on a daily basis. Anzac Day reminds us that we are and who we can be, courageous, compassionate, resolute and resilient. As the first Anzacs waded ashore at Anzac Cove a little over 100 years ago. Today, none of them could imagine that the legacy they could have created for their newly independent nation as we have. A distinctly Australian identity emerged from the unimaginable hardships and terrible sacrifices of the Gallipoli campaign, of which recognises the importance of sticking by your mates. What a word that is, mates. Mateship. Overcoming great adversity and getting the job done. Today, the Australian spirit of courage, teamwork, perseverance against adversity, fairness and compassion continues to demonstrate by our soldiers, sailors and airmen and women on deployment all around the world today. As I speak, many of them are preparing for their own dawn services, a time of quietly contemplate the legacy of those who went before them and over the last century, and those who will never return to their families and friends. Many others who are attending services around Australia today have not served, or perhaps don't even know anyone in uniform. But that doesn't make the day any less important for them. Anzac Day ceremonies grow larger by the year as we see, because we can all relate to the values displayed by our military past and present, and because we recognise that the sacrifices of all involved in war have underpinned the stable and successful and modern nation that Australia is today. Today, as our servicemen and women continue to serve with dedication and distinction, both at home and abroad, we remember and honour those who have gone before. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Graham. I'd now like to introduce our youth council members. Thank you.
Thank you, David and Graham. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today, Anzac Day is important to all of us because it is a day to remember all of those people who gave service so we can enjoy life we have in Australia now. Many of us have had someone sacrifice their life or given service. My family is like a lot of families here. We had some people in both wars. My grandmother's grandfather was at Gallipoli and is listed in the books at Shrine of Remembrance. He volunteered as a young boy at 17 years old, which, with his father's permission, he came back to continue his life as a farmer in Sylvan. He raised a happy family, some of whom went on to service in their turn as well. At the same time, my grandfather's uncle was also at Gallipoli, and unfortunately they did not return. He is buried at Lone Pine Cemetery. His brother, who also served in Turkey and went on to volunteer again in service in World War II. When World War II came again, members of my family, both sides, volunteered to serve. They served service with pride and believed they were helping to make our lives better. Some members of my grandfather's family spent time in a prison camps in Asia, and is a sad side of the service of our soldiers and other service. Since World War II, like many families, we have people that have continued to serve in armed forces. This was done with pride, and Anzac Day is always a time to honour, respect all people that served in any way with the armed forces. Many of the families that had members serve lent pride, responsibility and caring for others from the service of other family members. Anzac Day is a good time to think about their service. In Scouting, we have a badge called Their Service, Our Heritage. and this is what we should remember. And I have a quote to share to all from John Cantwell. On Anzac Day, honour the fallen, cheer the service, care for the wounded, reach out for a friend. To everyone here served in any war, I would like to say thank you for the good life you have given us. Now I'll pass it on to Hajia.
Australians all let us rejoice, for we are young and free. We meet here today not to glorify the ideas of war, but rather to remember those who served our country during times of crisis, and to reflect upon the selfless sacrifices taken. We gather to honour the memory of these brave men and women who sacrificed their lives in service to their beloved country. By your presence here today, I know there is no doubt in your heart and in your mind that today marks significance. Young Australians and New Zealanders gave their all at Gallipoli, forging the bond within which our two nations now live. No Australian has given more, nor worked harder to shape our values and beliefs. These men and women have given us a greater belief in ourselves and a deeper understanding of what it means to be Australian. Life was very dear, but life was not worth it if it meant not defending our Australian ideals. It is for this reason their spirit is with us today. This day is not about war. It is about honouring those who devoted their lives for love of family and of country. Their sacrifice is why we enjoy the freedom and quality of life that we all enjoy today. Anzac Day is an opportunity for us all to reflect on the nature and service the contributions of our own family, friends, and members of our community, past and present. Australia is a special place to me because I get to wake up every morning in a bed, have breakfast, be able to socialise with others and not feel afraid of just being me. Living in such a place makes me feel safe. It is a unique country and culture, population, climate, geography and history. Diversity in Australia influences the Australian cultural environment that is lively, energised, innovative and outward-looking. The pride and grief of Australians following the landing at Gallipoli formed a strong bond that made a statement. Our people were truly united as one. Gallipoli played an essential role in forming our own unique national identity and established the beliefs and values that still define us today. Their sacrifice, our freedom. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd now like to call on Arthur Bartlett again as our guest speaker.
War touched our lives in many ways. As we've just listened to these girls who have just spoken to us about the different people and where war has touched. And I just want Ethan just to step forward into the middle of the road here, please. Thank you, Ethan. Turn around and face the crowd, Ethan. Ethan is 18 years of age. We sent this age group of kids to the war. When you think about that, they were boys. When us standing here as adults, we look at them and we look at these people that we sent overseas. Thousands of them. This age, 18 to 21 years of age. Boys. Thank you, Ethan. Give him a hand. Won 2 world wars, the Korean War, Vietnam War, Afghanistan, Iran and Iraq. These are wars that we've sent our boys to fight in. And as we stop today and think about them, we give tribute to those who gave their lives so young in their careers of their lives. I was born in 1935. That makes me 83 years of age. I was 4 when the Second World War broke out, and my dad was sent away to Papua New Guinea as an Air Force man in Madang. He went willingly, although there were 5 kids he left behind, and us as the family had to go through the ideas that they told us that they were going to let the Japanese come down as far as Brisbane or the New South Wales-Queensland border, and I happened to be in Brisbane at that time, and we all shook in our boots. We all were fearful. I was only just a little kid, and when the war finished at the age of 10. In 1954, I was called up in conscription to be an ASHO and trained in Wakol in Queensland. And we were training for the Korean War. Although I didn't go because I needed to finish my apprenticeship as a bricklayer. In 1959, I found myself in Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, building. And I had the opportunity one Easter time to walk 2 days on the Kokoda Trail, to stand at the top of the Golden Staircase and look out across to the next ridge where our boys carried those AK guns and all their ammunition to that ridge, and then they blew the whole top of the ridge out where the Japanese were. It was an awesome sight. It was an awesome feeling to stand in the foxholes on the top of that ridge. Then to step down from there to go to the Bomana War Cemetery near Port Moresby, and there to look at the white rows of soldiers' graves and to read the ages of them, 18, 19, 20, 21. In 1960, my wife's husband died at sea with HMAS Vampire. He got Golden Staff and was buried at sea. He was doing his duty in peacetime. 1963, I had the privilege of standing at Pearl Harbor, and there to look at that valley, the V in the hills at the back, where the Japanese planes flew through there on that Sunday morning and dropped their bombs on Pearl Harbor. What a privilege to stand there and see that. A few months later, I stood in a hall in San Francisco, and I met Captain Fuchida. Fuchida was the man who led he was in the lead plane on the bombing of Pearl Harbor. To stand and meet an enemy was something that not many of us would have had the chance to see. To shake this man's hand and to realise that after the war he retired and he became a Presbyterian minister, and he was preaching in that hall that night in San Francisco. 1964, I met a man called Colonel Patterson. Colonel Patterson, known to everybody as Paddo. Paddo was just a sergeant in the First World War. He was on the landing barges heading towards the shores of Gallipoli. They were squeezed in at daybreak, all pushed up against the landing deck. He was right in the corner, and standing right in front of him was an 18-year-old boy. He was a Christian, and he wasn't frightened to tell anybody that he was a Christian too. He was a Christian, and that he was there to fight for his country. Paddo was jammed in with all their gear on, ready for that bow to hit the deck and for them to rush forward and go to the cliffs just straight ahead to hide away from the Turkish guns. But the first outbursts of fire from the Turks hit this young fellow standing in the corner of that landing barge, and he took the bullet in his neck. And Paddo was right up hard against him with all his gear, and this young man's blood, just with his heartbeat, just pumped blood all down Paddo's chest. Paddo said, I carried that. We only had one uniform, and I carried that man's blood on my uniform for the rest of that campaign in Gallipoli. Paddo survived and went on to be a colonel in the Second World War. 1965, my wife's adopted brother, called Major John Campbell, fought in the Vietnam War at the Tet Offensive. And he being an atheist, I said to him one day, I said, Don, did you pray when you were there? He said, mate, he said, everybody prays. He said, no matter how big an atheist you are, he said, I tell you, when the bombs are dropping, the bullets are flying, and you're messing your pants, he said, you'll pray. I want to pay a tribute to the chaplains that went with the boys to the war. Guys who took their faith and took it with them to the war, to encourage, to stand with these boys, to pray for them. There was a big prayer meeting on the battleships as they were loaded into their landing barges at Gallipoli. Chaplains were there. We don't hear much about the chaplains and their work, but Colonel Patterson said, I was reminded that little boy gave his life for me. That bullet could have hit me and I would have been dead. He said, but it's just like what Jesus did. He gave his life for us, a sacrifice on Calvary. The chaplains had a job of doing a service to the guys in handing out little booklets, and I've got 3 little booklets that are here that my dad carried on him in that Second World War. The first one, it's called The Holy Gospel According to St. John, Active Service, 1914-15. Please carry this in your pocket and read it every day. A little booklet of St. John, and read it every day. The next one was the Australian Soldier's Pocketbook. My dad's, all his details written in it. And it was all about how to handle war and all the laws of war. The third little book was given and in the front cover was presented from a message from His Majesty the King. And I'll read it to you. To all serving in my forces by sea or land, or in the air, and indeed to all my people engaged in the defence of the realm, I recommend the reading of this book. For centuries, the Bible has been wholesome and strengthening influence in our national life, and it behoves us in these momentous days to turn with renewed faith to this divine source of comfort and inspiration. September the 15th, 1939. These were little books that were given out by the chaplains, encouraging each guy to pray when the chips are down, when there's not much hope ahead, when they stepped out of trenches and attacked the enemy. They went in obedience to their deaths, and we honour them. We honour the chaplains for their work, encouraging them and keeping the faith with them and helping them to trust God, and also to be able to point them to eternity with God. And today, my tribute is to those of the fallen, lest we forget.
Thank you, Arthur. I would now like to invite all peoples to the laying of the flowers and wreaths at the base of the memorial stone.
Here. Popcorn.
I'd now like to call on Miss Helen Gleeson, who will read a poem 90 years ago.
There on the beach, on that desolate beach, dawn filters through as they land. There on the beach, some would not even reach. Nothing unfolded as planned. Running and falling, confusion defined. He scrambles and clambers and crawls. The ridges rain venom. He somehow survives, but his innocence dies on those shores. From the dark of a trench, through the fly-ridden stench, shines the grin with a knockabout glow, 103 years ago. There on the hill, that unwinnable hill, he is scared but by God, he's committed. There on the hill, so much young blood would spill, the word sacrifice tragically fitted. In protecting their homeland, the Turks never budge. The high ground is theirs to defend. Death blows a breeze that puts ice in his knees. He prepares now to meet with his end. For a moment, the sky turns a calm shade of blue, and with that the commander yells, "Go!" He is hit and it burns. Then to peace he returns, 103 years ago. There on his grave, on that lost lonely grave, with the others that grimly abound, there on his grave, wooden crosses stand brave, and Anzac lies under the ground. Australians, New Zealanders, brothers in arms, mates on the same team today. Goodbye and God bless, Cobber, so say the words, in a strength we could never betray, and this on the face of a small humble stone, that in winter is lashed by the snow. Please cry no tears. He was 17 years, 103 years ago. Here in my heart, with the beat of my heart, I can't help but tremble and shiver. Here in my heart, so hard to depart, from the pride that this spirit deliver. For the courage, the kinship, the duty, the dove, the flame of our freedom ascends. Enemies once, now we stand with respect, and continue this journey as friends. Gallipoli, home to a ghost in us all. From a tale, pray our children will know, as a legend of Anzac, and lest we forget, 103 years ago.
They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget. Thank you. That concludes our service for this morning. I'd like to thank everybody for coming, and like I've said, and Councillor Graham Moore, it is good to see getting bigger and bigger every year. To remember Anzac Day and remember the people that fought for what we have today. So thank you very much for coming. There's morning tea in the hall behind you if you would like to stay and have a coffee and some supper. Thank you.